Hello there, friends. Hi. We'll make sure that sound is working before we jump in. If you're new here, I'm Camille. I'm not sure if my mic is being picked up. It is plugged in, but I'm not seeing much of a signal on the bottom. So if you're here live and you can let me know in the chat if you can hear me all right, then we will jump right in. And I'll put that in the chat. I'll ask just in case. Can you hear me? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for letting me know. All right, if you're new here, I'm Camille with 30 Day Singer. Today we are doing a nice in depth overview of each vocal register. So, we're going to start with our lowest vocal register called our pulse register. That's where we get vocal fry or this kind of creaky sound. We'll talk about the uses of that, how to find it, how to exercise it. Then we'll talk about chest voice or your speaking voice, in other words. We'll talk about head voice or falsetto. We'll talk about the blending or mixing of those two registers that you might have heard referred to as mix or mixed voice. And we'll touch at the very end on whistle register. As a singer, I don't do whistle register, so I'll point you to another great resource that's free here on YouTube for you to learn more from a teacher who does do whistle register and teaches it pretty well for beginners, in my opinion. So, first, I want to talk about what is a vocal register. Most people, when they think of, let's say, chest voice, they think, oh, those are just my low notes. Or when they think of head voice, they think, oh, those are my high notes. And there is correlation. You will use chest voice for the majority of your low pitches. However, it's more than just a set of pitches, it's how your vocal folds are functioning and then the resulting sound or tone that we get as a result. Um, if you are on TikTok, you might have seen this one note three ways challenge. And the whole point of that, if you're unfamiliar, a singer would go chest voice, hey, mixed voice, hey, head voice, ooh, and they would sing one pitch with three different coordinations. And the whole point behind that was to say that uh, a vocal register is more than just the pitch that it's tied to. So, we'll talk about what range in your voice there might be some crossover like that. You can't sing one pitch three ways with every pitch on the keyboard, but in that middle part of our voice, there is a bit of overlap where you feasibly could sing one pitch in chest voice coordination and head voice coordination and mix. So first up, we're talking about the pulse register. This is below your speaking voice. So if you make a really, really low pitch for me, eventually you're going to slide past the lowest pitch that you can create in chest voice. And if you keep going, you're going to hit your pulse register. Another way to find your pulse register is to pretend that your door creaking open. Uh, so the reason that we call it the pulse register or we call it vocal fry is because there's uneven or inconsistent vibration of the vocal folds. When you're talking and when you're singing, typically you're seeing those vocal folds vibrating, the full fold is vibrating, and it's happening at a pretty consistent rate. With pulse register, it looks totally different. So if you visualize the vocal folds themselves, which of course you need a scope and a camera in order to do, but if you look at the vocal folds when someone is making that vocal fry sound, it's uneven and the air is just kind of bubbling through. So you get these little pops of air, and that's what's causing this. It kind of sounds like something popping. That's that air just inconsistently bubbling up through the vocal folds. The range of pulse register, as I mentioned before, it's below your chest voice. So you find it by going for a pitch that's lower than any note that you can sing. Eventually you're going to hit it. The uses of vocal fry or pulse register, one is to relax the voice. So if you're a singer that struggles with too much muscle or too much compression, in other words, if you tend to shout and strain a lot, then vocal fry can be a way for you to relax your vocal folds. You cannot be muscling really, really hard and doing vocal fry. So if you're unable to get vocal fry, that might be why that you're using too much muscle, too much effort, and you're going, and you're trying to get vocal fry, or in reality, you need to just relax completely. Um, Another use for vocal fry is to find chord connection. And what I mean by that is if you are singing with an overly breathy tone, if you're going, ah, that means there's a lot of air leaking through your vocal folds. They're not holding back the air efficiently. And as a result, we have this weak sound that we really can't build any volume on. So some teachers will use vocal fry to get those vocal folds vibrating, and then they'll slide into a pitch that you're having trouble with, that you are singing in too breathy of a manner. So you can try that. If your tendency is to go breathy, see if you can slide from vocal fry into that breathy pitch. So uh, uh, and it might not sound cute. That's not a very beautiful tone that I'm singing with right now. But see if it helps you to get a little bit more connection. Again, starting with fry. Uh, and seeing if you can slide to some of those pitches that you normally struggle to get connection on. Another use of vocal fry is for stylistic effect. So many pop singers today will use vocal fry. It adds a little bit of grit, a little bit of rasp, and it just has a cool effect on the sound. So if you're a pop singer, then vocal fry is something that you'll want to experiment with. Let's try some exercises incorporating vocal fry. First, I just want you to find vocal fry. Remember, go below your chest voice or make a sound of, a door creaking open. And then we're going to see if we can slide around, maintaining some fry. It might be easiest in the beginning for you to just hang out on a single pitch. But what we're trying to do here is to pitch our fry up and down like so. And it's tricky to do. It's going to come and go. But if you can start to pitch your fry up a little bit higher, it'll be easier for you to access it for stylistic effect. The trap that beginning singers fall into is they go to fry really, really low. They go, and then they're singing up here. And it's just a big, big jump to make. So easier if you can, if you can get your fry closer to the pitches that you actually sing. Okay, so find your fry wherever it is. And now imagine that you're going to slide up in pitch and back down. I know this is not beautiful. And typically the higher that you go, the harder it is to keep access to that fry. Okay, enough of that. We're going to go from fry to a pitch. So we're going to go wah, 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 and that's it. So we're saying the word what, but without the T, so just wah. Imagine adding fry on that W. Wah, wah, wah. And we'll take this for a walk. Okay, here's kind of the pitch that I was starting at. So this is a B flat. If you're a low voiced singer, you might want to start 1 octave below me. So I'm right here. You might want to start down here. And our pattern is just 1, 2, 1. We're going fry to wah. Let's give it a try. Here we are. Wah, wah, wah. I'll go even slower. Let's walk down first. Fry to wah. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. I know it's tricky. It's okay if it doesn't come today. Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah. And last one. Wah, wah, wah. Cool. I wouldn't do a ton of vocal fry work, so we're going to move off it right now and get into chest voice. If you are practicing your vocal fry, you want to balance that out with some cleaner connection. So now that we've been using our vocal fry a little bit, just sing with me on a lip trill or a hum. And we're just going to slide up and down into our head voice. You could be humming right now if the lip trill isn't for you. You could be going and back down. We just want to balance that out so that we don't get stuck in vocal fry mode. That's very, very easy to do. And I bet you could think of a celebrity or two who kind of tends to get stuck in vocal fry mode in their speaking voice. And we don't want to do that with our singing voice. As with any stylistic technique, we want to be in control of it. We don't want it just happening. So vocal fry falls under that category for me of more of a stylistic technique than a register that we stay in a lot. Okay, moving on to a register that we do stay in a lot, the chest register or your speaking voice. So if you're wondering what's the difference between chest voice and speaking voice, they're one and the same. When you're speaking, you're obviously not sustaining pitches, but if you just talk right now, if you say no, 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 and then you go to sing no, 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 the only difference is that we're sustaining those pitches just a little bit longer, and we've also added a pitch to it. So the function of your chest register, this might be review if you're a 30-day singer student, but the function of your chest register, you have muscles within the vocal folds themselves, and we call those the TA muscles or the thyroarytenoid muscles. They are dominant when you're speaking and when you're singing in chest voice. As a result, your vocal folds are a bit shorter and they're thick and fat. So the resulting tone, when you have these short, thick vocal folds, the resulting tone is strong, it's vibrant, it's naturally a little bit louder, and most people are more comfortable in their chest voice, at least in the beginning of their vocal training. I say most, not all, because I have plenty of students who really love their head voice and kind of get stuck in their head voice too. But I would say overall, more singers fall into the category of being comfortable in chest voice and then having a hard time getting out of it. So the range of your chest voice, again, you could sing beyond this range, but this is what's typical. Male voices or low voice types, I mean basses, baritones, tenors, typically you'll be using your chest voice up to, at least with tenors, up to D4. And hi, Precious. Hi, Lakshita. Thank you guys for being here. So low voices, you can sing this D4 in chest voice healthily. And it's not this D. That's D3. That we know you can sing in chest voice. I'm talking about this one. I'm making the distinction because a lot of beginning singers have a hard time knowing what octave to sing in. And a lot of beginning guy singers, I'll play this note and they'll sing this one. Those are both called D, but they're in a different octave. Okay, so low-voiced singers, you can sing up to this D4 in chest voice. If you have a very low or heavy voice, so if you are like a true mega bass, your chest voice kind of limit might be closer to the C, maybe the B or the B flat. But basically, for low voices, you can think of around middle C. So either just above middle C or just below middle C. That's where your natural chest voice limit typically lies. And if you try to sing higher than that in just full on chest voice, you'll start to run into problems. The most common problem is you start to shout, you start to over muscle, and eventually you crack. The other common problem is you just flip into head voice. So for high voices like me, altos, mezzos, sopranos, we can typically sing up to about this A flat in chest voice. Again, some people will take chest voice higher than that, but most people start running into issues if they try to take full heavy chest voice higher than this A flat. So again, most of us we have one of two tendencies. Either we shout or we flip into head voice. The uses of chest voice, strength and low notes. That's basically how you can think of the function of your chest voice. So even if you're a singer who loves singing in head voice and sings in mostly head voice and mix, you should still be training your chest voice. And when pitches are low enough for you to sing comfortably in chest voice, you should. Here's a very, very common thing that I see happening. For example, let's say we're in a lesson and you're singing on ba 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 ba. Okay, that went high enough that I couldn't just sing it all in chest voice. But I started in chest voice. Ba. Okay, I used chest voice as long as I could. Ba ba ba. And then when I needed to ba, switch into mix or head voice, I do that for the top note. Ba 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 ba. And then coming back down, ba ba ba. I find my chest voice again. Here's what I see some beginning singers do. Once the melodic pattern gets high enough that they can't do the whole thing in chest voice, they just switch completely over to head voice. So they'll go like this. Ba 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 ba, and they'll stay in head voice. And then as we keep going, ba 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 ba, and they're in head voice. But you'll notice that low note, ba, it has no strength to it. I don't want to train that way. I want to use chest voice where it's appropriate to use chest voice. Ba, 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 and come back to chest voice when it's low enough to do so. So if you're a beginning singer or even an intermediate singer, I want you to look out for that tendency. Use chest voice for your low notes, even if it means you have to switch back and forth. Okay, so good for strength, good for low notes, and some exercises to train your chest voice, especially if you're a singer who has a hard time connecting or finding their chest voice. We want to use wider vowels and harder consonants. So an example of this would be ba or ga. So we might start around here singing ba, 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 ba. It's not that pretty, but it's strong and it gets us connected to our chest voice. On purpose, I'm not going do, 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 because that oo vowel, you'll naturally flip into head voice if you use something like an oo or an e. So when you're in chest voice, unless your teacher has a specific reason to use another vowel. For example, I like using narrow vowels for really low chest voice. I like using neutral vowels like an for, overall register crossing. But if the goal is to sing in chest voice, we want to use either a wide vowel, a hard consonant, or both. So wide vowel, I mean literally your mouth is wide. So if you say, hey, hey, you're not going, hey, hey, with a narrow mouth. Similarly, the ah vowel, as in apple or cat or yeah, yeah. Your mouth is nice and wide. You're not going, yeah, yeah. So wide vowels, literally your mouth is in a wider position. That naturally starts to bring in some of that strong chesty quality. And what I mean by hard consonant is a consonant that helps you hold back a little bit of air. So something like a b, b, or a g, 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 even a k, k, k. Okay? All of those are great for getting that chest voice strength engaged. So let's sing first on a wide vowel. I'm going to start you on this A. We're going to use a medium consonant, a M sound, and an A as an apple. And we're going to go ma, 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 ma. Just like you're saying the word man or map. Think very spoken. Don't think singing voice. Think speaking voice, because that's what we're using. We're starting on A3 if you're a high voice like me, A2 if you're a low voice. Okay? And I'll let you know when it's getting too high for chest voice, but you'll probably feel it. You'll feel like, oh no, I'm starting to shout. Ready and sing. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Ma, 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 ma. Pause right here because higher voices like me, we're going up to an A4 right now. You might start to feel that your voice is starting to squeeze up a little bit to stay in chest voice. So high voices, I want you to change to ma. Ma, 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 ma. You can still start in chest voice, ma, and then let yourself transition either through mix or to head voice if need be on ma. Ma, 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 ma. While low voices stay on ma. Here we go. One more. Okay, since we're well into mixed territory, I'm going to leave the higher voices. So high voices drop out. Low voices keep singing. You might have noticed that on this last one, you're singing G, A, B, C, D. And that D4, remember, that's typically where chest voice starts to kind of cap out, or at least where you start needing to make a transition. So instead of ma, 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 you can start to sing ma, ma, ma. And that'll help you lighten just a little bit into mix. Start here on ma, 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 ma. But when you start to feel it pull, go to ma. Ma, 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 ma. All right, low voices only. Keep going. Here you go. Last one. Certainly, if you were singing in that octave, ma, 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 by the time you got to this G4, that note, I can't imagine that anybody was full chest voicing that pitch if you're a tenor, baritone, bass. Okay, so chest voice only exercises, we don't take too high unless you're a more advanced singer and you can transition into mix or head voice. Um, but something with that, wide vowel like ah. Let's try now a go, 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 go. So this doesn't have a wide vowel, but it has a hard consonant. Again, we're not taking it too high. So let's start back on this A. Actually, let's have all voices together. Yeah, all voices together. I'm going to start you on E3. Go, 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 go. Okay? So this is medium to high for low voices. It's very low for voices like me. Again, starting on E3. That one, not this one. Here you go, and we're singing go, 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 go. Very spoken, very conversational. Don't get into singing mode just yet. Here you go. Go, 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 go. Go, 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 go. Last two. All right. So, low voices, you might have felt a little bit of a transition into mix. You might have flipped into head voice, and that's okay. High voices, I stopped you at that A4, so I didn't take you up into that mix or head voice range. Okay, moving on up, I'm gonna cover head voice before I cover mix because remember, mix is a blend of your head voice function and your chest voice function. So we're not gonna start accessing mix until we are singing in chest voice and singing in head voice, albeit separately. So, head voice, remember how I was telling you there are these muscles within the vocal folds we call your thyroarytenoid or your TA muscles. Stay with me, even if you're not a voice science person. You have another little muscle pair at the front of the folds, and their job is to pull your cartilage down. And in so doing, your vocal folds stretch out longer. When your vocal folds stretch out longer like a rubber band, they produce higher pitches. So, when you're in head voice, those muscles that are pulling the vocal folds and stretching them longer, those muscles are dominant. Um, your TA muscles within the folds themselves, they might be still active a little bit, but not nearly as much. So, head voice, really quickly to find your head voice, go woo woo as high as you can. Woo woo! Not woo-hoo, not in chest voice. Nice and light. Woo-hoo! That is your head voice. Almost every singer that I've worked with, um, they don't know how to find their head voice, and that's what I do with them. And that's it. Then we found it. So once you've found your head voice, woo-hoo! Then see if you can find the pitch around which you're going, woo-hoo! So if it's woo, I'm going to noodle around on the keyboard to see what pitch is that? Woo-hoo! There it is. Okay, so my woo-hoo I found was kind of around this D5. Woo-hoo! All right. The next step is then sustaining. Woo! Woo! Again, not super beautiful, but we're accessing that function, and that feels way different than hey. Woo! So as a beginning singer, it's You might hear some teachers online talking about placement or sensation. They might be saying, you should feel this, or, think about it this way. And I'll often guide students to put their hand on their chest to feel that vibration for chest voice. But when it comes to head voice, woo hoo, you'll notice the sensation on your chest disappears. Woo woo. The question is, where does that sensation go for you? Because it's different for you than it is for me. And I'm really curious for anybody live, how would you describe the sensation, the feeling, the thought when you're singing in head voice? Do you feel any sensation? Where does it feel like it's landing? And that's okay, Ever Crazy. You don't need to sing too much with us. But let me know when you are singing in head voice, woo, woo, what does that feel like for you? And maybe that's in comparison to your chest voice. I'll play around a little bit. I'll tell you what it feels like for me. By the way, not everybody would be going woohoo on this D5. So maybe if you're a lower voiced singer, you could try floating around maybe A4. Woo-hoo! And that'll be plenty high if you're a tenor, baritone, or bass. Woo-hoo! That's high enough for you to find your head voice. Keep in mind, though, my beautiful low voices, it's not this A, it's this one. Woo-hoo! It's higher than you think. If you try to find your head voice on this A, you're still going to be in chest voice. Ooh, Charleston is saying, I feel it in the roof of my mouth. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, I do too, for sure. They see me trolling. They can't win, says I feel it on my hard palate. So hard palate and roof of the mouth, same thing. So you guys are on the same page. And nose. Ooh. Yeah, I can feel some vibration on my nose too. Some people might feel it up here in their head. They might feel it back here. So the reason I'm saying it differs from person to person is because we all have a different instrument that we're using. Pretty much across the board, everyone can feel vibration on their chest and in their body when they're speaking and using chest voice. But head voice, for whatever reason, it's just a little bit different. So, anyways, I encourage you to memorize what head voice feels like, because that'll help you get there too. Um, Especially for beginning singers. If I play this pitch for you and I say, sing it in head voice, ooh, there's so much coordination that has to happen. And if you are someone with more singing experience, you're probably thinking like, what? That's not hard. Like I can do that. Beginning singers really struggle with this, and I work with a ton of beginners, so I know that it's not just a couple people, it's most people really struggle with knowing what octave am I supposed to be singing in. Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? Especially lower voices. And then finding that coordination. So what's really common is I'll help a singer find their head voice. Ooh, but then when we go to an exercise or sing a song, they'll have a hard time finding it again. So, another piece of advice for you is to memorize the exercises or vowels or cues that work for you to find your head voice function. It's pretty easy to find your chest voice. You just have to go, hey, no, and you're there. Head voice, a little bit more elusive for people. So my favorites are the owl hoot, hoo, hoo, an excited and high-pitched woo-hoo, woo-hoo, a Mickey Mouse voice, ha-ha, that can also help you. But use what works for you. If none of these things I just said work for you, find something that does. A cuckoo clock, cuckoo. Okay, so exercises to work specifically on your head voice are going to use narrower vowels. We're not going to use and a when we're up in head voice if all we want to do is train head voice function. That's not to say you can't sing an ah vowel in head voice. Of course you can. But the point of a vocal exercise is to make your job easier. So the easiest way for us to get into head voice is with narrow vowels. And when I say narrow, I mean the vocal tract is narrower. It's smaller. So you can think of an ooh, ooh, ooh. See how small your mouth is? An e, e. I know that's kind of confusing because an ooh is like this and an e is like this, but they're both small openings. E, e, ooh. So a good exercise. I love this owl hoot just going ooh. But I think for my beginning singers today, let's do an even narrower range of pitches. So we're just gonna go coo, 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 like a cuckoo clock. Okay. Range for head voice. I haven't touched on this yet because it's a terribly difficult question to answer. The range you sing, uh, the range you use head voice within, typically, typically, a high voiced singer like me will be using head voice at like that D5 and above. A lower voice singer will be using head voice at this A4 and above. However, you could use head voice lower than that. And once you hit that pitch, you could keep mixing as well. That's why we really can't talk about vocal registers in terms of exact pitches. Yes, there is a continuum: pulse, chest, mix, head or falsetto, whistle. But we can't be so specific as to say this to this pitch, chest voice, this to this pitch, mix. There's way too much overlap and the voice is way too complex for us to make it that simple. So let me demonstrate how low you could sing in head voice. So I'm going to start on this C5, for example. Ooh, and I'm going to keep going down in head voice. Ooh. I'm going to restart. Ooh. Let's see where that is. Ooh. So it's possible to sing down quite low in head voice. That was a D flat 4. Ooh. But am I going to use head voice that low? Probably not. I'll use head voice ooh, maybe as low as a G4 if I want it to be really light. It's really singer specific, it's instrument specific. And by instrument, I mean your voice. So typically, your highest pitches you're going to sing in head voice. In the middle, it's a little bit of a gray area because it depends on you. Depends on what does your voice do naturally, and then it also depends on what stylistically am I going for. Do I want this really light, breathy sound, or do I want it to be stronger? Okay, so one head voice exercise, and then we're going to jump into mix. Okay, so again, I'm going to do all voices together. I'm going to start us on G4. We're going to go coo, 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 like a cuckoo clock. Again, everyone's on the same pitch. It's G4, not G3. Okay? Starting up here. If you have a hard time finding this, go woo-hoo again. Woo-hoo! And then stay in that place. Remember where you felt that head voice vibration? Woo! Coo, 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 coo. Okay? Here we go. Coo, 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 coo. Walking up. Coo, 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 coo. Really light. Coo, 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 coo. Keep going if you can. High voices definitely keep going. last one. All right. So far, we've got our pulse register that we use either therapeutically or for stylistic effect. We've got our chest voice, which we use for strength and our lowest pitches. We have head voice, which we use for lightness, flexibility, and our highest pitches. And then we have this mixed coordination, which really is a huge umbrella. Again, your mix is not just this one set of pitches. It's singing with a balance or a blend of the chest voice strength and the head voice flexibility or lightness. Um, I want to find first, before we jump in further to mix, I want to find you a live lesson that I did on mixing specifically because it really is such a big topic. Um, okay, here we go. So this was a little while back, but this talks about finding your mix from your chest voice and from your head voice. So you can sing in a chest dominant mix, you can sing in a head dominant mix. Um, a nice way to find your mix, although mix is more developed than found, but a nice way to find it is to sing starting below your break or below that point in which I said, "Ooh, chest voice cannot go much higher than that," and slide on an NG. Is in the word sing. Mm. And see if you can feel the sensation kind of moving from your chest more into your head. Instead of just staying stuck. Okay, that's not what we want. Think about not letting go completely, not going like this, and flipping into head voice, but rather gradually letting yourself kind of thin out and stretch up. Mm, mm, Okay, so for low voices, you can be doing that. I would say you could start even a little bit lower. Like low voices, you could start right here. Start on F sharp to C sharp. And then you can walk up and keep going. But again, see if you can not force it to stay in chest voice. So don't go and also don't let go completely into head voice and break. It's okay if you do. It's totally fine. This is a tricky coordination to learn. But this NG can be really helpful for singers to start to find that balance. Another really helpful way to find that mixed balance is to use bratty sounds. Sounds like nay or nah, where we're kind of using some nasal resonance. So instead of singing on something like a hey, 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 and hear how heavy and chesty that is, we might sing on a na, na, na. And I know it kind of sounds like chest voice, but you're already starting to get into more of a mix, a mixed coordination. There's more lightness, there's more head voice stretch going on. It's not just muscle. So you can try exercises like that. So the NG slide, that's super nice. A really, really bratty na 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 na, and walking up na 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 na, and keep going na 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 na. Na 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 na. I know it's ugly. So both very bratty and very small. Your mix does not need to be super, super loud. It can be loud, but especially when you're just finding and developing that coordination, it's okay if it's very, very small. Um, Exercises that I like for building your mix will be neutral vowels and neutral consonants. So I love singing on a mum 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 or a boob 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 to start developing that mix. Um, Again, I would check out that live lesson that I linked because that's all about mix. And now that you've gotten an overview, then yes, ever crazy. We are about to get into Q&A time. I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of whistle. Again, as a singer, I don't use whistle voice, so it's not something that I teach. I have to be able to do the things that I teach. And uh, some people will say that every singer can access whistle register. In my experience, that's actually not true, at least not easily. And anyways, I'm not a singer who has access to whistle, and that is totally fine. um, People who are more likely to access whistle will have higher voices generally, because that register, typically in the female voice, we think of that as being around D6 and above. That's typically what we think of as whistle register, because C6, a soprano will still be in head voice to sing that pitch. Male voices can access whistle. Again, it's typically going to be the higher voices. So, like a light, high tenor is more likely to access whistle than a heavy baritone or a bass. And their whistle could be as low as, let's say, an A5. Some people would argue even lower. But the uses of whistle are when you want a very light, piercing, flute like sound. So think Mariah Carey, Ariana Grande. When they go very, very high, they're in whistle register. And the function of whistle, similar to the pulse register being like something different functionally going on, whistle register, just the front of the vocal folds are vibrating, the back is open. So the way that you learn to whistle is not it's not just pushing head voice up and up and up. Um, so I want to give you what I think is the best tutorial on whistle voice, and it's by another teacher here on YouTube. I advise you to check this out. The way that he teaches whistle, by the way, get those questions in. I'm here for you. Um, the way that he teaches whistle and that many other teachers will go about this is you'll first start to inhale and make noise by inhaling as like going like this instead of breathing out. But of course, you're doing this up super high, just so that you can get that. You can establish the fact that you're making sound in a different way, not with the folds vibrating fully as they do in head voice. Okay. Do you have any advice for beginners? Oh, let me just wrap up this whole vocal register thing. Where you're going to spend the majority of your time as a singer, chest voice, head voice, and developing your mix. Pulse register, you don't need to spend a ton of time there. Whistle, you don't need to worry about it. If you have access to it and you find it great, but in my experience, the bulk of your singing, I mean 99.999% of your singing is going to be in chest, head voice mix. So anyways, that's that. We do have live lessons on just chest voice, just head voice, just mix. So you can check those out as well. This was a little bit more of an overview. Okay. Do you have any advice for beginners on how to improve the sound of their singing voice? Yes, I do. I actually think that when it comes to improving your tone, knowledge is power. And once you understand what's contributing to your tone, so let's say you have a nasal tone and you don't like it. Once you learn, okay, why is that happening? My larynx might be a little bit too high. Maybe the back of my tongue is a little bit too high too. So if you know what's causing it, then you can lower the back of the tongue, ah, lower the larynx, ah, and you can rid yourself of that overly nasal sound. But it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to make changes to your tone when you don't know how the voice works and what structures are involved. So, I did a live lesson on this a while ago. Um, so I'm just going to say tone, and there is that for you. And I highly recommend going through that. I think it's pretty beginner friendly, but it does go in depth through the vocal instrument and talks about um, all these different things that can impact your tone. Ever Crazy's asking, how long does it take us to learn how to sing? How many months or years? Um, there's no way for me to answer that question because I don't know what your starting point was and I don't know what your practice looks like right now. Um, I have some students who surprise me with the progress that they make. I have other students who, because of kind of lack of practice time or commitment, I think have a lot of potential and then, don't really make progress that quickly. So it's very difficult to answer that question. Um, I will say I want you to focus on what you're in control of. So the practice time that you're putting in, what you're spending your practice time on, and then the results will be what they are. But we can't really be. I totally understand the heart behind this question, and I find myself asking questions like that too. Um, but it's really impossible to say. It really is. Um, I think that you can improve significantly within months for sure. Um, but then it's like, what is your definition of learning to sing? Is it just learning to match pitch? Yeah, we can do that in months. Or is it singing like, Christina Aguilera? That's probably more a year's process than a month's process. Um, anyways, I hope that answered your question, but my main advice is focus on what you have control over. You don't have total control over the results or the amount of progress. In the same way that if you asked me, like, how long is it going to take me to do the splits, I'd be like, well, how flexible are you right now, and how much are you stretching each day? Those are two huge factors. I sing effortlessly in head voice and head mix, but I strain in chest voice. Any tips? Um, yeah. So I find for singers who strain in chest voice, the easiest way to sing in chest voice without straining is to use your talking voice, but to pitch your talking or speaking voice up higher than it would normally go. So if your speaking voice is down here and you're going, hey guys, hey, see if you can pitch it up a little bit higher. Hey guys, hey, but still you're just talking. Hey guys, hey, hey guys, hey. You can almost think of it as like a character voice instead of your own voice. And again, just speaking. When if you start to think shouting or yelling, it's just going to make that strain worse. But if you're saying no, hey, also nasal sounds, as ugly as they really help to train your chest into your chesty mix by keeping a good amount of resistance without strain. So I'd say those two things: playing with speaking voice, pitching it up higher, and then these nasal or bratty sounds can be very, very helpful for a singer like you. Charleston is saying, I can't seem to sing in head voice without sounding really breathy. Pretty sure it's psychological. Any suggestions? So Charleston, actually, I would say that's a very, very common thing, first of all. Um, I like to use semi-occluded exercises. For example, that NG from before that we were talking about finding our mix coordination with. You can do the same thing, going into your head voice and imagine it kind of going into your nose a little bit without falling back like, because that's just going to get us into that breathy sound. So imagine the sound going forward, kind of like a really annoying siren. And then see if you can open up to a vowel. So, and I know it's so ugly, and I'm annoying you guys like crazy right now. I'm sorry, but that ng or those bratty sounds can again get some good chord closure without pushing and straining to do so. That's where I would start. I would start with an ng, bratty sounds. A vowel like E or A is nice. I would stay away from vowels like whoo or ho, because those aren't going to help you get that resistance. So for you specifically, I would say E, yeah, instead of whoo. Apari, I'm very good, but at the moment I hear or found someone looking at me, I just lose energy. Tell me, what can I do? Apari, that is tricky. So I did write an article a little while ago, and I'm going to find it. It's about steps to build confidence as a singer. It's gosh, easier said than done, isn't it? Let me find this article for you. Okay, Apari and anyone else wanting to sing in front of other people, that is for you. Let me know if that link works. Also, as I'm here on the blog, I also wrote an article on, can I really improve, or are people just born singers? And someone who asked before, who is it? Ever Crazy? You might like this article because it kind of talks about improvement. Alexis, so I was wondering how I could work on developing my vibrato. As of now, I only sing with straight tone with hints of vibrato, but I'd like to change that. Yeah, Alexis, that is a great goal. So I do have a video lesson, a short one here, troubleshooting vibrato. So I'd like to share that with you. And then I do have a live lesson as well on vibrato. So first I'll put the link for, it's just a 10-minute video. So I'm going to say troubleshooting vibrato. There's that. And then the other one is a long live lesson like this. And we go into depth on all the different reasons that your vibrato might be struggling. There you go. So I find if the vibrato kind of comes and goes, then it's helpful to do specific exercises where you're encouraging that vibrato to appear. And I saw a message was retracted, so I won't respond to that message. But yeah, I love working on vibrato. If you're hearing hints of it, that is such a positive sign. That's awesome. So my advice to you that maybe doesn't appear in those videos that I shared, my advice first is just to notice when it's happening. And that's great that you are. And then when you notice that your vibrato appears a little bit, can you reproduce it? So if you're singing some line, you're going da 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 da, and you hear a little bit of vibrato, can you do it again? Da 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 da. And that's the start of being able to release it on command. So that's a practical piece of advice, but definitely check out those other two videos. And last question, ever crazy, can people have more vocal coaches than one? For example, like 2 to 5? Yeah, they certainly can. So I personally have well, I have 2 main vocal coaches that I go for like a checkup every now and then. One focuses on more classical music and one focuses on more pop or contemporary technique. So I think it's especially helpful if you sing in a couple different genres, that you unless you have a teacher who covers everything, you might have a teacher that has one specific focus and then another specific focus. Can it be a little bit confusing if those teachers are giving conflicting advice? Yes. And then you might end up spending some of your lesson time being like, help me clarify this because my other teacher said this. Anyways, I'm just foreseeing that as a potential issue, but I'm a huge fan of learning from multiple sources. Um, yeah. So that's the short answer is yes. Okay, awesome. Alexis, you're so welcome. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you. I will see you next Wednesday. So normally our live lessons are on Wednesday. I had a schedule conflict with that this week. But next time back to Wednesday. I'll see you then. Thank you. Bye.